The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Variety Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericavariety.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Your new or existing home is one of your most important assets, yet too many people rely on sites, shows, and tips from people who are not in the real estate business when making important decisions. It's time to get real and trust a professional. This is Real Estate Today with host Deb Tomaro. In this series, you'll learn about making smart decisions when it comes to buying a home, selling a home, or even staying in the home you're in. Now, here is your host, Realtor Deb Tomaro.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in another great episode of Real Estate Today. I was laughing because right as we went on the air, Karen's back. Yay!
Yay, I'm back.
And then she had to cough right as they said, you're live. And so I was laughing about that. So anyways, hey, I'm Deb Tomaro. I am your host of Real Estate Today, and we are here to dispel the myths and tell you what you really need to know about real estate, not just what you see on HGTV. There's a new HGTV show. No, it's not HGTV. It's on the History Channel, but it's about home renovation. Have you seen that?
No, I have not. No.
I saw an ad.
Are you sure it's history and not
No, I know it is. It's history because I was watching American Pickers. Do you ever watch American Pickers?
Yes, I do.
That was on last night, and they were doing ads for a new show that I think was on later, but I went to bed, called Lone Star Restoration. And
Is it in Texas?
It is in Texas. Brilliant, Sherlock. and they go and they renovate old homes. But what makes it interesting is that they use some appropriate tools of the era of whenever the home was built.
Oh, so like if it was built in the 1800s, they would be using
that planer thing and giant wheels that you can crush your foot on or whatever.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't so, I know Rachel's giving it a thumbs down. It wasn't so appealing that I stayed up to watch it.
History Channel?
It was the History Channel.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. So anyways, I'm going to have to look into that. So Karen, welcome back again.
Thanks.
And we're also joined by Rachel, who did a fabulous job in your stead for the past couple of weeks. So a big shout out to her. If you don't know Karen Rastel, you haven't looked her up on the Facebook. She is the best damn lender in the state of Indiana. So we appreciate having her here. She said, I don't even know what today's show is about.
No, I don't.
I said, that's okay. It's a part 2, so we'll catch you up. There's
a
little
sabbatical.
review.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I know. So what we were talking about last week is how should my realtor be marketing my home? Not about what your realtor does when they sell a home, because there's a million moving parts to that in terms of, doing analysis, telling you how to price it, helping you stage it, helping you negotiate, yada, yada, yada. But just how are they getting the word out?
Drawing traffic to your home.
Yeah, getting a buyer through the door.
Okay.
And that came about because last week I did a broker open, and we're going to talk about, we didn't get to that. Shockingly, I had about 8 things last week. I got through 3 or 4. We're going to review those briefly so we can bring Karen up to speed. And then we're going to talk about a few other things too. I also wanted to encourage everyone to follow me on Facebook. Have you seen my Facebook post this week?
No, are you doing Chuck Norris?
It is 30 days of Chuck Norris.
I'm going to do this
backed by popular demand because several years ago, I don't know, Karen, did you ever do the November I'm Thankful For?
No, I think that's kind of cheesy. I'm thankful every day, but
there
whatever.
You go. Well, so everybody was doing in November. Apparently the in thing to do is all the cool kids do it, is to post every day one thing that you're thankful for. So that was fine. I appreciated that. I watched that. I didn't participate, but I watched it. And then come December, I thought, well, now that November's over, I'm going to do 30 days of Chuck Norris. And I love these Chuck Norris jokes. I don't know why. They're stupid. Karen's looking at it. She just slapped her knee. Literally, it's knee slappingly funny, right?
That's awesome.
So it's all these things about how awesome Chuck Norris is. So if you want to follow that, let's see. Today's was when Chuck Norris steps on a Lego, it tickles his foot. So anybody who's ever stepped on a Lego knows what that means. Yesterday's was really good because yesterday is the screensaver on my telephone. That when Chuck calls, you have the option to answer or answer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No option to decline there. One of my favorites is when Chuck Norris does push-ups, he isn't pushing himself up, he's pushing the earth down.
Yes.
I always wanted that for like a t-shirt to wear to the gym. So anyways, it has nothing to do with real estate except that my pledge was people go and post Chuck Norris stuff to my page all the time because they know that I just think that stuff's really funny. It has nothing to do with anything.
The whole Pokemon thing.
We're going to come to that one.
Yeah.
That's on my list.
Sorry.
So don't steal my thunder. The people have to check Facebook every day. So anyways, when people were laughing about a Chuck Norris thing recently, I vowed to, for 30 days before the election, to post a Chuck Norris every day as my attempt to distract. So we're calling Chuck as the antidote for the election. Chuck for president. But
yeah. I bet Chuck Norris listens to this show.
He probably does.
I'm sure
Can we
he
hashtag
does.
him or
we
something?
We should hashtag him. He would totally listen to it because what else is he doing except,
Does he still do those exercise commercials?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
Your hand movements just made me think of like nunchucks.
Oh, no, it wasn't nunchucks. Right. So anyways, okay. So please take a look at that. And then I have something else really exciting. I mean, this is just a segment full of exciting stuff, right? I am not pregnant.
Okay.
Karen's
Are you getting a new puppy?
I am not getting a new puppy because our puppies are fighting right now. We're having some strife as the new one is settling in and realizing that he has the ability to be dominant. And so now it's not like it's my food and nobody else's, and the little puppy looks hungry. But anyways, no, I have the answer to one of the things that I think stresses you out the most. You may not realize it. So Eurus, okay, let me back up here. I live in an old house.
Yes.
It's like 100 years old, right?
Yes.
So there's no way that my house could ever be a smart house because it's just an old house. I don't have all the new.
Oh, you mean like, like everything's like programmed and you can have the curtains open. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So Eurus, we all know, love of my life, Sunday night, he says, look at this. And he starts messing with his phone. And all the lights in the house start going on and off. What the heck? He went to Menards and my house is a smart home now.
Nuh-uh.
Swear. There's this product called Wink. Like Wink, right?
Yeah.
And it was like $60 or something for a hub. You buy this little hub and you sync it up with your wireless or your Wi-Fi in your house. And then you download an app on your phone. And then he bought light bulbs. He said they were priced about the same as normal light bulbs. But the light bulbs have Bluetooth in them.
What?
So, right. So now, here, hold on. I'll pull it up on my phone so that no one can see.
I didn't realize that yours was so techie. Like, he should come to my house.
It's not that hard. Okay, so here's the Wink app on my phone. And if I pull it up, it's here, living room light, dining room light, Eurus's office light.
Oh,
and
so
if I hit
turn
that,
it on while you're not there.
I just turn the light on. So, of course, yesterday, Eurus was having great fun turning the lights on and off on me while he was out working, 20 miles away. The lights would go on and off. It's a good thing he told me what he did. Okay, but it gets even better, right?
Okay.
So, and I mean, that's really, for under $100, we were able to basically turn the home into a smartphone home. Now, this hub, this Wink hub, syncs up with a ton of different things. So it syncs up with your garage door opener. Like they have a very compelling story on their website about a gentleman who's confined to a wheelchair. He can't reach the garage door opener, but that's his main entrance because that's where the ramps are. But he just has an app on his phone and he just boom. And he can't reach the lights in the house. The light switches, some of them are too high too.
Okay.
And so he can do that. That's really cool. You can do irrigation. You can do your thermostat. It doesn't have to be a Nest thermostat. There's other like 4 or 5 brands of thermostats that interact.
Did he just find this on his own?
I didn't ask these questions.
Happen to be at the store and was like, oh, what's this?
Probably that's what it is. Unless it became this big thing. Locks on your doors, window shades. They have automated ones you can lower and raise. I mean, think about it. If you're away on vacation, you can just like make it look like your house is being lived in. I'm huge on that. Okay, but here's where it gets exciting, Karen. Are you ready?
I'm totally ready.
It has a water sensor.
To let me know if my house is flooding.
To let you know if your house is flooding.
I love
you
it.
would take the sensors, and I don't know what that looks like, but you would place it in strategic places around your house. And there's a sensor valve that connects to your main water shutoff. Oh. And so because the water that you had when you had your big flood, it was coming out behind the toilet, right?
Yes.
If you had a sensor on the floor there, as soon as that sensor got wet,
exactly,
it would shut the main water valve off to your house. And then notify you.
I needed yours to find this like a year ago.
I know, exactly. But isn't that amazing?
That's pretty cool.
Their website says that water damage is the second highest claim filed with insurance companies in the country. I think this is huge.
I believe that.
Huge for a ton of reasons. I tweeted the Wink people, but I haven't heard back from them yet. I was hoping they could maybe, do some demonstrations or something. I think this is really, really cool for sellers too, because especially in this time of year, when you're going to sell your house, we always say, if you can turn all the lights on, that would be great. Especially as it starts to get darker and we're going out at 5:15 to show a house, right before when people get off work. Right. If you haven't been home yet and the lights aren't on because maybe you got showing notification a few hours earlier, then just to help us turn a few lights on so we're not walking into a dark home would be huge. And for that cost, that's very, very reliable. I don't know if it would work on vacant homes because you have to have Wi-Fi in order to do it. Maybe you can do a hotspot or something. I don't know how that stuff works. But I think this is, you can check your thermostat settings. You can remotely turn off the home's water if, like, say you get notification that your thermostat, you're out of town, thermostat goes out. And you need to, save your pipes from freezing or whatever.
Okay, so he got this, and then he just downloaded an app, and, it's that easy.
Yep. You sync up your, you sync up the hub with your Wi-Fi, your, router, and then whatever appliance. So, the light bulbs.
Right.
I think there was, a code or something that he had to, scan and, sync up somehow. So it needed to look for that.
But it didn't take, all day.
No.
He was just
no.
Okay.
And then when I came in, I just downloaded the app because he already had everything set up. And boom, I'm turning lights on and off. I'm 5 miles away. Really, really cool. Really cool. And they're continuing to add products to that in different ways that it can be, turning your house robotic. So I think there was even, he said, this was one I thought was silly, but I think there's something you can put in if you had a refrigerator that had the egg container, in the door where you can put your eggs instead of just keeping them in the carton, and it'll tell you if you're out of eggs. Like you're at the grocery store and you're like, am I out of eggs?
I just got a new refrigerator and I don't have one of those.
I don't either. I know maybe that's something from when we were kids. But anyways, that is the Wink project, and I think it's really cool, and I think everyone should put that on their Christmas list. So we've talked about how that product would be really useful for sellers, but let's switch a little bit and talk about how realtors can be useful for sellers. We hear a lot of complaints of people feeling like the realtors aren't doing anything to sell their home. And so I wanted to talk about what the realtor should be doing to bring that person in through the door. And so, Karen, the things that we talked about last week, we talked about the MLS, making sure that it's on all the major sites, that not all realtors are on Zillow and Trulia. So you want to make sure and ask that question. And then we talked about making sure that listing information is accurate. Have you ever seen inaccurate listings?
Yes.
We talked about your house having a walk-in panty or or a big back dick.
Oh, yeah. Well, I haven't seen those. No. I look for taxes aren't shown correctly, or they describe a manufactured house as a lovely 3-bedroom ranch with a garden tub. Right. Yeah. Yeah, and not being accurate. Right. And then as a corollary to that, so we were recommending to people, our takeaway was to review your listing, make sure that it's accurate, but also make sure that it's complete. We talked about how buyers these days want all the information at their fingertips. They don't necessarily want to have to make phone calls to figure out pertinent bits of information that really should be in the listing. And then we talked about one of my favorite topics, which is photos. That how important it is to get buyers through the door. You've got to have good pictures. Yes. So we talked about the terrible real estate agent photos. We had some great ones this week that we posted on Facebook. So that's always super fun. And then we talked about my top 10 pet peeves. Uh-oh. Yeah. Toilet seats being up in the pictures. I don't like toilet seats up, period.
Right. It's just a necessity. I often don't make a huge attempt to try and get the toilet in the pictures because everybody poops.
You're right.
It's kind of my feeling. Pictures from the wrong season that show the house has been on the market for a really long time. Realtors and mirrors. Love that one. Just people in general in the pictures. The listing paperwork is still sitting on the kitchen counter. They can't move that for the picture. Blurry pictures. Sideways pictures.
Sideways pictures. What the hell? I don't understand.
It's just lazy, right? That's what we said last week.
I just think
lazy.
Just rotate.
Well, seriously, right after we did this show, the next day a listing popped up, and it was a staircase. It was just standing at the top of the stairs, pointing down, which does nothing but give people vertigo. But then it was also sideways, and I was just like, just lazy.
Sideways staircase, looking down.
Right.
Okay.
Blinding sunspots. Pets, blank rooms that don't tell you the story. A friend of mine posted on Facebook today. She's a realtor in Indianapolis, and they're using some virtual staging, which is really cool. So if you've got blank pictures because the home is empty, you can hire a company and they superimpose furniture on the picture, so you don't have to move it in or out to give people a sense of what a room would look like. Really, really cool. So make sure you review those pictures. And make sure that you don't have any pictures for your listing that end up on terriblerealestateagent.com. So I think that was pretty much as far as we got. That was 4 things. So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to get back into the rest of the list. So stick around. You are listening to Real Real Estate Today with Deb Tomaro, your home for smart real estate.
The Internet's #1 talk station. #1 talk station. VoiceAmerica.com.
Are you interested in buying or selling a home? Not sure what the next step is? Deb can help. Go to realrealestatetoday.com and click on Start Here. You'll be asked a few simple questions, and Deb will personally contact you to help answer your real estate questions and connect you with a realtor in her personal nationwide network of realtors. So even if you aren't in Deb's service area, you're guaranteed to find a good match wherever you are. Visit realrealestatetoday.com.
Are you finding your frequency? It can be described as that space between failure and success. It's the future of digital media. It's finding your voice. It's engaging topics, content, and ideas. Jeff and Ryan discuss the digital media space and all of its aspects. It's about making the mistakes, taking the chances, summoning the intestinal fortitude to step out of your comfort zone, and discovering what you can accomplish when you decide to try, decide to learn, decide that you have something to say, and find your frequency. Live Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Variety Channel.
Streaming live. The leader in Internet talk radio. VoiceAmerica.com.
You are listening to Real Real Estate Today. To reach Deb tomorrow or with questions and comments about the show, please send an email to Deb at realrealestatetoday.com. That's Deb at realrealestatetoday.com. Now, back to this week's program.
And we are back talking today about how should your realtor be marketing your home to get buyers through the door. We are in part 2, so make sure you listen to part 1, which was last week's show. We had a good time with that. So we're going to talk a little bit more about some other things that people ask about, expectations that sellers might have. Karen, you look like you want to say something.
Well, no. Yesterday, because I've been on a sabbatical for 2 weeks.
Right.
So yesterday I was looking at some recent articles, and there was one on Yahoo about this person wanted to sell their house, and they went through 4 agents who won't list their house.
Won't list their house.
They won't, but they won't be honest and say whatever's going on with the house. But anyways, it was talking about when you've got 4 top agents who are saying, I don't know if we want to list, either your house is ugly, it hasn't been updated, it needs this or needs that.
There's bloodstains on the carpet.
Bloodstains. It was just kind of talking about what are you expecting this person to do? They won't even return your calls at this point. So this reporter was saying you may A, need to try to do this on your own. Mm-hmm. B, go with a discount broker where they're going to charge per showing and I don't even know, but it was on Yahoo just yesterday.
Interesting. That would make a good interesting. Someday we should have like a round table with a bunch of realtors in the room and wine, and we could talk about like what would make you not take a listing.
Yeah, I think the article.
I don't think that happens very often.
The headline said something about you may need to come to terms that your house is too ugly to sell or something like that.
Right. Certainly could be the case. But usually then what truly is the issue is that the seller isn't willing to price it appropriately. Anything can sell if it's priced right. But if it's not,
possibly.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're thinking your home is worth $500 and it's really worth $275, we're going to have a problem.
Right.
But that's interesting because I think as realtor, it's hard to walk away from a listing potential, just because, you want to think that you can do anything and you hate to give up business and turn it away. But we've all had some times where we've, wanted to fire or have fired clients. And, I've had some clients who just won't allow showings. Well, that's going to make it really, really difficult. But it's actually, once the listing contract is signed, there are usually clauses in there that say, as the seller, you'll make the home available for showings. So if you're not holding up your end of the bargain,
why hire someone to promote and sell your home?
Well,
if you don't want to.
It's a pain in the butt to sell your home. That's why. It is a pain. It is an inconvenience if you're still living there. And so some people want to try and control that a little bit and say, no, that's not a convenient time. I'm not willing to change my routine or, change what time my kids eat dinner or whatever. And so they say no.
But as the seller, I would be thinking, what's my prize?
Right.
Eye on the prize.
Exactly.
I need to get out of this house and get into my new home for whatever reason.
Right.
And so as inconvenient as it is, I have to figure it out.
Yeah. And I would say there is a large chunk of sellers out there who don't really embrace that. You know what? There's going to be some discomfort. There is going to be some point along the way where, I'm going to be inconvenienced. I may have to move twice. I may have to whatever. It's not, the easiest of propositions, but you're absolutely right. You need to keep your eye on the prize. One of the reasons that I was doing this show is because last week I did what's called a broker open, and we all kind of know what open houses are, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But a broker open is something that I don't know if everybody is familiar with. I know Karen is familiar with it.
Well, $1 Million Listing, they do.
Do they do broker? I guess they do. Oh, that's right, because they bring in the entertainment and the...
Oh, yeah, it's in the evening, and there's caviar and whatever. Yeah.
So a broker open is like an open house, but it's for realtors. It's a great way to provide exposure to your home, and it's a great way to get feedback. So I like to do broker opens after a home's been on the market a little while. If we're not getting the activity we want and we don't really understand why, it's great to open up the doors and have realtors come through and give you, second and third opinions, and give feedback. And sometimes it's really helpful because sometimes the sellers don't want to hear it from their agent. It helps to have other agents go, yeah, your realtor was right, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I know here we typically do them during the week on Tuesdays, midday, and we bribe realtors to come out with lunch, which is where Karen comes in because she usually sponsors the lunch for me. So sometimes if it's a fancy, they might do a wine and cheese thing in the evening. That's what we see on HGTV all the time. Yeah.
Pinkies out.
Finger sandwiches. I've seen some where they've had like jugglers and smoke machines and...
Well, the one I watched, they had like a mermaid in that pool.
Excellent.
Because they were trying to divert your attention to the construction going on right in the backyard.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. I live in the Midwest, and that's probably not reality in the Midwest or for 99% of the world. But anyways, so broker open can be a great way. You certainly need to talk to your realtor if you ask what their opinion is, what their feelings are in a broker open, if they feel like that is appropriate. Similarly, an open house. Here's the thing. I'm going to tell you a secret. Should everybody lean in? Okay, because I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm going to put my hand up to my mouth. Open houses aren't really designed to sell your house. Did you know that, Karen?
I did know that.
Open houses are designed so that realtors can pick up clients.
I heard that from a realtor once, and I thought, I don't know. Like, I didn't really know at that time, but I back that statement 100%.
Right. Now, that being said, there's nothing wrong with open houses. I love them. Picking up buyers is, that's kind of, as a realtor, I have to do that. I have to sell your house, but I also have to keep filling the pipeline because I need to keep, my income flowing at some point. I'm building a business too. However, chances are that an open house won't sell your home. I would say, 5% chance. I'm trying to think back. Like, I can think of one instance where I held an open house and the buyer came through and she actually ended up buying the house.
Interesting.
Maybe twice. I've been in the business 10 years. I do a lot of open houses because I like doing them.
I'm going to say all the open houses I've been to, the neighbors are coming through because they are interested in, we may be like putting our house in the market. I want to see what the inside.
They're checking out property values in the neighborhood for sure. And a lot of times you get people who are looking for homes, but not in that price range. I have a lot of buyers, like first-time buyers, but once they kind of start to build some confidence about this home buying thing, they'll walk into a $500,000 house because we just want to kind of see it and get ideas.
Right.
That's when you get a lot too. I'm just getting some decorating ideas.
That last open house I was at, the house that I really want to buy is in the adjacent neighborhood of mine.
Yeah, we got an accepted offer this week.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not getting.
Okay.
But anyway, but when I was there visiting with you, that couple that came through and was like, oh, that garage is not as big as you say it is. And I'm thinking, but they were very argumentative about whether it was whatever dimension by whatever dimension. Right. And I know you were thinking, maybe this isn't the house for you, but they just kept hanging their hat on, that's not really a 3-car garage. It's like 2.5.
Right. It wasn't deep enough for a car. No car would ever fit in there is what they said.
Yes.
So here's the thing, though, with open houses is that it is a great chance for feedback. So like you said, so that guy comes through, he says, that garage isn't big enough. Okay. Well, maybe we need to put a car in it so that people can see, oh, wait, there was a car in it. And he still said it wasn't big enough for a car. I don't know what can help that guy then. But, if the garage was cluttered, maybe there's something we can do.
Right.
And so I do a lot of eavesdropping in open houses and just listen to what people are saying to their significant others when there's not a realtor standing in front of them and they're kind of, intimidated or it's awkward. And we can pick up some good information about, or if people are asking the same question over and over again, then that's a good sign that, hey, you know what, we need to revisit the listing and make sure that information is in the listing because people seem to have that question multiple times. So it's a great way to get feedback. Some places don't make sense for an open house, like if you're way out in the country. So, my nugget for this is to ask your realtor what their philosophy is on open houses, how open houses fare in the area, if there's other ways to get feedback, because that feedback is just so important and so helpful. So if you're not having a ton of showings, maybe open houses can be a good way to do that. So that is my opinion on open houses. Let's talk about signs. This is interesting. I feel this show makes me feel old. Because I start to think back what's changed over 10 years. So then I go, I was in real estate. Wasn't it last week I was saying I was in real estate before smartphones?
Yeah.
I was in real estate before.
I wasn't here last week.
Well, I say that a lot.
Yeah.
I was in real estate before we texted,
Right.
And so signs, I think the feeling, the purpose of signs, real estate signs, for sale signs, has changed a lot over the past 10 years. You still need a sign in front of your house, of course. It needs to be clear that the home is for sale and that you're not refinishing your bathtub or getting new siding or, like a contractor puts a sign out in front of your house. But, there used to be this feeling that you had to put signs like everywhere. And that's because people were driving around to find like houses.
Leading up to the neighborhood.
Arrows
or
and
whatever.
all kinds of stuff, right? And I don't know that that's necessarily the case anymore. And because people aren't driving around, they're on the internet.
Right.
Which then goes back to this whole idea of, having the MLS information correct, yada, yada, yada. Even having directions and having directional signs isn't really that necessary anymore because most people just, I haven't given directions
GPS it
in years because people are just like, I'll just put it in my GPS. I had a lady meeting me in my office a few months ago. Do you remember me telling you about this? And she called me and she's like, I don't know where it is. And I'm thinking, I don't know how to give you directions anymore.
I had someone do that to me too about a month or so ago. And I'm like,
and she's like, I'm here. I'm like, she was telling me what intersection she was in. I'm like, don't you have a GPS? Like,
yeah,
that's a lost skill now, how to give directions. My directions tend to be a little convoluted because I'm like, go here by the big tree with the guy that's mowing his lawn and turn left kind of thing. So, certainly, without a doubt, you want to make it clear that the home is for sale. You've got a good for sale sign in front of your house and that you're not, like I said, having your siding done, your bathtub insert done. But I don't know that you necessarily need a multitude of signs. I get this a lot too. And right now, I know in our county, in our city for sure, sign laws, we can't put signs hardly anywhere except in the yard of the houses for sale. And sometimes, like with condos, you're limited as to whether you can put signs in at all, or you might have to put one in a window. But I've had clients and they'll say, well, I want a sign here and here and here. And it's like, I can't do it. It's like against the law. They're going to just take them.
Right.
So that can certainly be an issue in a lot of communities these days as well. So that's what we know about signs, everywhere a sign. I don't remember the rest of that song. It's probably time to take a break.
That takes me back to like 1991 or 1991.
Something. Yeah. It goes back further than that. I think it's actually from the 60s.
Wow.
60s.
It reminds me of high school.
Okay, well, there you go. That and Justin Timberlake. All right, we're going to go to a break because we're devolving into nothing useful. And we will be back in a few. You're listening to Real Estate Today, your home for smart real estate and nonsense.
Streaming live, the leader in Internet talk radio, voiceamerica.com.
Are you interested in buying or selling a home? Not sure what the next step is? Deb can help. Go to realrealestatetoday.com and click on Start Here. You'll be asked a few simple questions, and Deb will personally contact you to help answer your real estate questions and connect you with a realtor in her personal nationwide network of realtors. So even if you aren't in Deb's service area, you're guaranteed to find a good match wherever you are. Visit realrealestatetoday.com.
Want an insider's pass to everything that goes on in Hollywood? Join Summer Helene every week for Behind the Scenes. Summer Helene is known as the Duchess of Hollywood because she knows the insiders, legends, and celebs and brings the stories, the gossip, and the backstage scoop. It's the real Hollywood, though, so this program is for adults only. Behind the Scenes can be heard live every Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time and 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Variety Channel.
A wave of change is happening in our world now. A new feminine way of leadership is emerging. Yet this is not about women taking over. This rise of the feminine is helping men too. Join host Gina Lazenby, award-winning businesswoman, best-selling author, and speaker on feminine wisdom, as she reports on the rise of the feminine with inspiring stories of women who are coming into their own and finding their unique purpose. Tune in and join this conversation in the rise of the feminine each Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Variety Channel.
The Internet's #1 talk station. #1 talk station. voiceamerica.com.
You are listening to Real Estate Today. To reach Deb Tomaro or with questions and comments about the show, please send an email to Deb at realrealestatetoday.com. That's Deb at realrealestatetoday.com. Now, back to this week's program.
All right. Thank you so much for coming back. And if you didn't come back, I understand. All right. So today we are talking about what your realtor should be doing to get buyers through the door when you have your house for sale. We talked about open houses and broker opens and signs. Let's talk a little bit about just marketing in general. I'm going to get a little philosophical here. Bear with me. I firmly believe that that a realtor should market purposefully. That means that they need to define who the target market is. So do you ever watch Project Runway?
No.
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 We can't be friends?
Okay.
Well, in Project, do you know the premise of Project Runway?
Yes.
So they design clothes,
sure.
Right? Up and coming designers, and they're designing. Well, Tim Gunn, who's like their little mentor that walks around all the time, impeccably dressed, right?
I know who that is, yes.
Okay, so he's always saying, who are you dressing? Who are you designing for? Who's your girl that you're, trying to create for? And the designers, almost always, if they're successful, they have a pretty elaborate backstory. Have you seen it, Rachel? Do you watch that? I love Tim Gunn. Okay. She says, I love Tim Gunn. Very seriously. Like, don't, I almost said, don't mess with Tim Gunn because he's my guy. Okay. But, right? They have these elaborate stories about, well, she works here and she gets off work and then she puts this jacket on and she goes to this place and she meets this person and they drink these drinks and they talk about these topics, right? They have this very, very specific.
Yeah.
But doesn't that make sense?
Sure.
Because then it helps you create this cohesive look, and it just helps you focus. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short, is that they don't have that, and the marketing then becomes unfocused and it doesn't make sense and it just feels off to people. I know, I'm looking at it a little bit.
No, I think any good realtor would say, how are we going to get this house sold as quickly as possible? Like, what is our target market? Is this a family home? Is this a starter home? Right. Is this a second phase home?
Right. And we have to be careful because we can't be like, this would be a great home for people with kids. We can't use that in our marketing.
Sure.
Because that would violate, because then it sends a message that if you're single, back off. And certainly that doesn't make good sense for equal housing. We want to make sure that we have a lot of rules that we have to follow. However, it does help you, if you're trying to market to someone who wants a lot of privacy, if that's like the person you have in mind, but you're selling a condo, there's going to be a disconnect and it's not going to make sense.
Right.
So, one of the first things I always do with my sellers is I ask them, why did you buy the house? Tell me about where you were in your life and what made you, make this decision, that kind of thing, because that helps me figure it out. And then I look at, the price point and what kind of financing is available, and the location. I have this great listing I put up this past week, yesterday, I guess, because today's Tuesday, isn't it? That I put up yesterday. Its location means that it would be great for people who work at Crane, which is a naval base nearby. It's a great location for that. So I'm going to be thinking about, okay, so now who works at this naval base? Lots and lots of engineers, right? Mm-hmm. So then I'm like, okay, so when I write my listing description or I provide my information, I need to think about it as to what would an engineer want to know?
Floor plan, numbers, square footage, all of that.
And they want to know the mechanicals.
Yes.
They want to know the details. How old is this? How old is that? Mm-hmm. What do the utilities run? That kind of information. So then that's sort of how I'm crafting sort of the theme of that listing. But if I were, if it were a listing that was maybe somewhere near campus and it was maybe an older home and it had a very, arty feel, or it was right next to the park where the movies play on Friday nights, it's going to be a different vibe. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's really important. And I would ask your realtor, who they think the likely buyer is. And, at the end of the day, 50-50 chance it could end up being somebody completely different. But I think by having that idea in mind and knowing who a potential target market is just creates a cohesiveness that just makes the listing, I know it sounds crazy, but it makes the listing more comfortable. That's sort of the psychological part of all this things, of all of this, is that you're selling a home to somebody. If it was an investment property, that's different. You're selling a business, you're selling numbers. But if you're selling a home to somebody, they want to feel comfortable. And so the listing needs to kind of make them feel comfortable. If there's weird pictures or misspellings, it distracts them. And it kind of makes them go, something's weird about this. Or just in general, they look at the pictures and they go, what's up with this house? Mm-hmm. I showed a house today. The pictures, the house is so cluttered. It's just, and you can tell the carpet's really filthy and whatever. And they've offered a flooring allowance, so they know the carpet's bad. But it just sort of had this weird vibe to it. So we kind of knew before we even walked in the door that it just something made us uncomfortable. So then when we walk in and the house smells smoky, then it made it even, you know what I'm saying? We walked through the door and we were suspicious to begin with.
Right.
And then we were much less forgiving on things that maybe if the house was spectacular, we would have, or we hadn't been suspicious or whatever. So you kind of do have to get a little bit that deep, if that makes sense. This is when you tell me that, yes, Deb, that made perfect sense.
Yes, it totally makes sense because what you're seeing online first is that's what you're setting your expectations for. So when you do go into the home and it does have a unique smell, it could be cat urine for all we know. I don't know. Or smoke or whatever it is. It does, because you think, you know what, let me go and look at the house because maybe walking in is going to be different, but then it has a different smell. It has whatever going on, and then it just kind of solidifies what you originally thought about the house, and now you cannot change that.
If you're suspicious to begin with, it makes the house have to meet an even higher standard. And so that's why, being accurate and understanding who the market is important. Okay, let's talk about, this is a good one. I'm going to try and explain this as best I can because I try to explain it to sellers all the time. But, some realtors will send out postcards and flyers and do, additional advertising, whether it's newspapers or whatever. And in some markets that may be popular. I don't know. Have you ever seen anything in your mailbox from realtors? What do you see? Just listed postcards?
I have sold 80,000 homes in your neighborhood, and I can sell yours whenever you're ready.
Right. So that's sort of advertising the realtor. But a lot of times you'll see, I just listed your neighbor's house, and here's, what it's listed for kind of thing. Because the thought process is, again, I'm going to lean in. I'm going to tell you a secret. That's really just to advertise the realtor.
A little bit,
it's probably not going to sell your house.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's your secret. So here's the thing, and let me try and explain this. I'm so anxious about trying to explain this. Because it's another one of these, remember the famous cereal box analogy?
Yes.
Oh, that was a great one. Okay, this is kind of like that. Okay, looking for a buyer is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Okay. So there's different haystacks. So do you go with a haystack that has one needle in it and look there, or do you go with a haystack that has 1,000 needles in it and look there?
1,000 needles.
1,000 needles. What's that haystack called?
A haystack of 1,000 needles?
It's called the internet. Does that make sense?
Maybe a little bit.
It's called the internet.
The internet. The interweb. Yes.
The interwebs.
The interwebs.
So I had a client once, and he was insisting that I make up flyers for him to take down to this naval base, because I can't get on the naval base because they make warheads or something there. So it's all shut down, but he's retired, so he can get in because he can get into the commissary.
He wanted the one needle?
He was looking for the one needle. So here was my point I was trying to explain to him. If someone is looking for a house, they are on the internet looking for a house. I cannot create a flyer that's so compelling that is going to convince someone who isn't looking for a house that they should buy a house. Let me say that again.
No, I hear what you're saying, but you might, A, be underestimating yourself, or B, I'll tell you what, I have received those postcards in my mailbox, like, hey, I just listed your neighbor's house, and I'm listing it for XYZ. Because I may or may not like the particular realtor that sent it, but it does put a question in my head, or I should put this on my husband,
right?
Because I'm in the business. He may go, I wonder what Deb would list her house for.
Right.
I wonder, would we consider selling? Because anything is for sale.
Right.
Even though we have no intention of moving.
Right.
But I'm just saying, you could produce a flyer that's so, riveting that someone's going to say, by golly, I want to go buy a house.
All of a sudden, I want to sell my house and buy my house and uproot my family and this, that.
Yes.
Okay, your argument is compelling.
Okay.
So I will give you credit for that. And I'm not saying it's not true, but 80-20 rule.
Right.
And so really, if you can put up a flyer, but I don't think that a realtor should be spending their days going from grocery store to grocery store, putting up flyers, advertising a house. You're not going to get your buyer that way.
Right.
It's just not going to. And then neglect the other areas that we're talking about for helping find a buyer. So that's the point I'm trying to make here, is that that your buyer, your haystack with the most needles in it, is going to be the internet. And that's why you need to go back to that MLS, internet, your listing online, making sure that it's everywhere, that it's accurate, and that you have great pictures. But that's a really good argument.
I would think so. I bet, I think it'd be tough to be a realtor and a buyer say, or seller say, this is what I really like you to do, even though it goes against your better judgment.
And if I have a buyer that's like, give me some flyers and I'll put them up, down with that, but is that going to be the best use of my time, is driving around, and putting that stuff up? And in all honesty, all it's doing is really advertising me. So maybe it would be a good use of my time, because it'd be a great way to pick up buyers. But similarly, magazines and newspapers, we used to have, a magazine. Well, we still have a magazine called Home Finder, and that's our local, like all the realtors put their listings. Well, used to, right? Back when I started, we were writing on parchment paper, but, sorry, that was weird. It was thick. It had a binding like a phone book, like a square binding like a phone book. Yep. And then at some point it devolved into a binding like a People magazine. Like there's just kind of a staple and a couple sheets of paper, because part of the problem with print media is that it's out of date. And so people don't use it anymore, because like in our world, that magazine, if we submit our listings to that magazine, we have to turn them in nearly 2 weeks before the magazine is printed and distributed. So how accurate can it be when the internet can be, in a moment you can update it and change it, and it's accurate everywhere except on Zillow, because Zillow is never accurate. So that newspapers, you've seen that, section and that kind of information go down a lot, because the recurrent theme is that the buyers are on the internet, and that's where you want to be loud and proud. All right. I got one more good gem for the next segment. So let's take a break and we'll come back and talk about that. You're listening to Real Estate Today, your home for smart real estate.
Stimulating talk.
Gets those synapses in the brain firing really fast.
All the time. The #1 internet talk station where your opinion counts. VoiceAmerica.com.
Are you interested in buying or selling a home? Not sure what the next step is? Deb can help. Go to realrealestatetoday.com and click on Start Here. You'll be asked a few simple questions, and Deb will personally contact you to help answer your real estate questions and connect you with a realtor in her personal nationwide network of realtors. So even if you aren't in Deb's service area, you're guaranteed to find a good match wherever you are. Visit realrealestatetoday.com.
What makes a great leader? Most have a vision, one that starts beyond the resources available and continues from that point into developing a solid plan, organization, and company. Leadership issues are discussed each week on Voltcast, Illuminating Leadership with host Jeff Smith. Jeff has years of experience as a leader and executive coach, and his guests will bring you information that can help a team of any size. Listen every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific on Voice America Variety.
Streaming live. The leader in internet talk radio. VoiceAmerica.com.
You are listening to Real Estate Today. To reach Deb Tomaro or with questions and comments about the show, please send an email to Deb at realrealestatetoday.com. That's Deb at realrealestatetoday.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Once again, thank you for coming back. We are in our last segment of today's episode, which is part 2 of what your realtor should be doing to get buyers through the door and sell your home in terms of marketing. And I think we talked about this last week. We talked about at the beginning of the show. We're not talking how do you price it. We're not talking about staging your home. We're not talking about negotiation or anything like that. But just what do they need to do to make sure your home's getting the maximum exposure and getting buyers through the door. One of the things that a lot of sellers don't think about that comes up a lot is I'll get a call from someone, they've been listed with another realtor and the home hasn't sold. And I say, what were your concerns? Why do you think your home didn't sell? And they say, well, my realtor never showed it. So my realtor wasn't doing anything.
That's a loaded statement.
Well, here's the thing. And so now I've learned from it, and so I make sure I set the appropriate expectation with sellers up front. And here's my rationale. You actually don't want me showing your house. Certainly, I might sell it better than anyone else, any other realtor, because I know it a little bit better. I know the features, I know what to point out, that kind of thing. However, when I show my own listing, 9 times out of 10, it's a random sign call. It's not a client that I have an established relationship with, someone who's been actively looking for homes. It's someone who's found the house online or they've driven by and they're calling, me as the listing agent. And what that means is that typically they don't have their own realtor, and it means that they haven't gotten really serious about buying yet. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. If you have your own realtor, then you've probably gotten really serious about buying. So a lot of times, the people that I end up showing my listings to, they aren't ready. They aren't qualified. The chances of them writing an offer are much slimmer than anybody else. I usually try to ask the buyers, and we've talked about this before. Someone calls me on my sign, I don't know you. I'm going to try and find out a little bit about you. Mm-hmm. I talked to a lady, and I said, are you pre-qualified for a mortgage? And she assured me that she was, that she had, down payment money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I said, fine. I showed her the house. Very nice lady. Had not been pre-qualified at all, had all kinds of legal issues going on because, bless her heart, her husband had passed away recently, and she was very young, and the house was still in his name that they were living in. Like, she didn't even know what to do. I actually referred her to my attorney. I said, I think you really need to talk to my attorney first, because didn't know how to, get the house into her name, and her husband had passed away a couple of months before. I mean, it was just nowhere near ready to buy.
I guess I would ask, why would someone say, yes, I'm pre-qualified?
I'm not sure why she said that. Okay. I think she felt like she could. She thought it's probably not a problem.
Sure.
But she hadn't been at all, and she was nowhere near ready. I've had some other people who say, are you pre-qualified? And they say, I don't have time for that. Well, then you probably don't have time to buy a house either. And so, again, probably not a great option for a buyer for your home. So think about that. A buyer who's working with a realtor is usually at the point where they are ready to buy. And you just got much better chances with that. So I want people to really understand that your realtor not showing the house isn't necessarily a bad thing. It actually could be a good thing. Conversely, though, you do want a realtor who is going to respond to inquiries. Because you do never know. I mean, there is that slim 5% chance that the person who calls on your house is going to be the one that ends up buying it. It happens every so often. So one of my other little hints or gems is to, and I don't know, I think this sounds maybe a little mean or suspicious, but is to maybe have a friend when your house is listed, call or email the realtor, see what kind of response you get. Because you hear that a lot, and I question, I know realtors don't always call me back. And again, I want to make the point that when you are hiring a realtor to sell your home, you're hiring them. So they're working for you, and so I think that it's totally okay to kind of do what you need to do to check up on them. And I know, and hopefully they respond right back and just, I was just curious about the price or something like that, and move on. So something to think about in terms of that interaction and how much your realtor should be interacting with people who are going to buy your home. A couple of other points. Hold on, I got my paper out of order. Social media. This is another one where I say, well, I was in real estate before Facebook was around. And so I think that as realtors, we are still trying to figure out how to use social media, how it should be used, and there's no standard. So it's hard for me to say this is what your realtor absolutely should be doing on social media. I think we're still trying to figure that out. I do think social media can serve to create a buzz. I mean, I think that's kind of why social media exists, right? Is creating buzzes. And a buzz is always good for marketing. So, if have you ever Googled a home? Like, you had a client that was interested in a home, you Google it or something?
Yeah, sometimes I can't find it on the MLS.
Yeah.
Or it's a for sale by owner kind of thing, and I'll do that.
And if you come up with some social media, some Facebook or something like that, and there's some comments, there's some buzz, that can be a great thing for the home. It's like when you have an open house and there's a bunch of people there, it makes people worried that, oh, there's lots of interest in the house, I better make a decision quickly. Mm-hmm. So it can certainly spur people to move on. I love if I put a listing out there and people who aren't necessarily looking for a home but have really positive things to say about it. I think that can be, everybody wants to live in a house that other people think is really cool. So social media can serve to be great in that aspect, but I'm not prepared at this point in time to issue a judgment and say this is an absolute requirement, over the MLS or anything else like that. And I think likewise, video is kind of the up and coming thing. I think it's hard to do video really, really well. And it's hard to do it quickly, which is one of the things when somebody wants their house listed, they want it listed now. And so being able to get video done quickly and done well can be very difficult. So if it's done well, it's great. I don't think it hurts, but I don't know that it's necessarily a requirement. When I look at some of the top agents, in addition to myself, in our market, not many of them are doing video, so I don't know that it's necessarily a requirement.
And I don't know if I would want to just necessarily see a video if I'm looking for a home, because I want to be able to walk in and experience the feeling of the home.
Yeah. And I don't ever click on videos because it's like, oh, that's 8 minutes long? Yeah, no, I don't have time for that.
Right.
If it was 45 seconds, I might, but 8 minutes, no. Or most of my clients, I swear, they're looking at they're looking for their homes when they're at work. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, employers, but that's what your employees are doing. And so they probably don't want to pull up one of these videos, and then they want to be able to kind of do it a little more stealthily, I think. So on videos. So in general, oh gosh, hey, the show's over. Okay. Those are the things. We'll try and put this list up on Facebook, just like a bullet point list. I think that would be really useful of things that your realtor should be doing. I want to just revisit the point that I made last week at the beginning of the show, which is that I'm not saying that you as a seller should be telling your realtor how to do their job, but that you as a seller need to take accountability for the sale of the most expensive thing you're ever going to sell in your life. This isn't a candy bar. It's the most expensive thing that you're going to sell. And so you need to be involved, and you need to not just sit back. We always say, where are these sellers who allow these horrible pictures to be online? I don't get it. Why don't they speak up? Why don't they demand to understand? Why don't they take some accountability and be involved? So that's what I'm trying to encourage you to do, and I'm trying to encourage you to know what questions to ask so that you can have a productive conversation with your realtor rather than having it be contentious or uncomfortable. Just asking the question, what do you think about open houses? Do you do them a lot? How useful are they? Having a conversation like that is much better than I want you to do an open house. Or not saying anything at all. So that's what we're trying to do in these 2 episodes, is kind of find a happy medium. So great to have you back, Karen. Hope you'll come back next week.
I hope I'm back next week as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but we're going to figure that out here as soon as we get off air. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Always appreciated. Check me out on Facebook, 30 Days of Chuck Norris. Can't go wrong with that. You were listening to Real Estate Today, your home for smart real estate.
Thank you for tuning into Real Estate Today. Please join your host, Deb Tomaro, for another edition every Tuesday at 12 noon Pacific Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Variety Channel. Until next week, take care of your home. It's one of your most important assets.